England are in the final. It's coming home. But before it does that, if you enjoy the video, just smash the like button. It goes a really long way. And with that, let's get into it. England generally didn't do long goal kicks. We're going to just move straight to their deep midfield with Millie Bright centrally flanked by Carter and Greenwood, with a single pivot in Walsh typically, although she could be joined by Georgia Stanway as well. On this occasion, England play it towards the left-hand side, looking to try and take advantage of that really narrow press that Australia initially had, of course, then leaving a ton of space on this left-hand side. That was actually really important for Australia because that was one of those positions where if they get their press right, they can break. Anyway, England really loved this ball in that left-hand side channel. It allowed them to potentially utilize their wing backs high. A note here also that TuneIn wasn't just staying in that central space. Instead, she was trying to roam. And this ball in this left-hand side channel, I mean, it's typically mirrored on the other side, but it was especially dangerous from Greenwood into the space behind Hunt due to her vision and the way that Australia set up to try and nullify England's wing back. So here we've got Carpenter pushing up, looking to be in position to engage Daly early, but that means that Hunt has to come across, and so does the rest of the defence, which is part of why England had those opportunities to be able to switch it out towards the opposite flank. But it also meant that the forwards for England could potentially get into a foot race with the centre backs. Australia able to defend this time and immediately look to try counter-attack. So we see that here with some nice passing through the lines with Fowler dropping in. Of course, beyond this, we've got Kerr likely running into the space behind as England look to try and counter-press. But then also note that the Australian fullbacks sought to try and get involved in the counter-attacks too. We see that both with Carpenter near side, and here we get to see it with Catley. England's counter-press is good, and we get to see England set up into that 3-1. I thought it was important to mention that it was deep, possibly looking to try and drag out Australia and create that space in behind for the likes of Hemp, Toon and Russo. But it also maybe reduced the amount of space that they would have to defend, track back if they did lose possession, as well as also creating bigger spaces for the likes of Toon and Stanway, or if one of the forwards dropped in between the lines, because they would outnumber the likes of Cooney Cross and Gorey in the centre of the park. So I thought it would be good to show that here, in this being in the 19th minute. We'll get back to the third, but we get to see again that 3-1 shape. We've got now Toon and Stanway between the lines. On this occasion, the wide midfielders have had to drop, whereas typically they're looking to try and position a bit higher, although as England decide to go to one side, then that sided wide midfielder will typically drop to try and put some pressure possible on the England wing back, whilst the far sided, so for example in this case, let's assume the far sided is Rasso, she'll position higher and look to try and rush out towards a wide centre back. Alternatively, if England pass it out to a wide centre back and the wide midfielder on the near side or on whichever side is already really deep, then you'll get one of Kerr or Fowler looking press out instead. So we see that here with the pass out into Carter, and we get a counter-attack with Kerr immediately anticipating that pass into the channel. Unfortunately, it's too long and England are able to get back in possession. Getting back to the third minute with England in their 3-1 versus that 4-2-4. They rotate it somewhat amongst themselves in defence, with Stanway dropping, trying to lose Gorey or Cooney Cross. Then we get to see what I counted as game management, where England just take the sting out of the game. So we see that here with that rotation constantly, eventually leading to a pass through the lines with Toon dropping from high and then playing this short pass into Daly, who's dropped. Again, she's going to be tracked, allowing a runner in behind the fullback. Unfortunately, Hemp and Toon aren't able to combine, but then we get to see some more of that game management with Toon just kicking the ball away. England were really good at this aspect of the game. See that just after England's second goal, obviously Australia want to get straight back in. Bronze is able to defend this, hits her in the head, and she takes the sting out of the game. Kelly did this as well when she came on, where it was just bringing the ball that they didn't really need on the pitch, so bring a second ball onto the pitch, all of it eating away at Australia's time. Getting back to the tactics here in the 9th minute. Again, we've got that 4-2-4. As mentioned, you have a forward on the line, but you can also get a forward dropping off the line into that space between the lines, with Stanway as the other number 8 between the lines, and both of the wing backs really high. This is part of what gave momentum to England in those wide spaces when they tried to combine with a wing back and a forward and a number 8. On this occasion, England choose to come back, but we get to see with just how narrow Australia have become, the amount of space that England have far side, which they used on numerous occasions to switch the ball out towards the back post. On this occasion, they instead choose to pass the ball back, and they have Greenwood play this post in behind. I think this is really important to show as well. It's just the numbers that England get into these spaces and their position. So you have all these players between defenders, pinning them, creating indecision and the space for England to attack. Okay, so given that we've mentioned this switch to the back post, I think it'll be good to show it. So we get a really nice pass from deep here in the 12th minute into Walsh, finally able to find a little bit of space, and she's able to play it through Australia's press. With that advantage, England are able to then create some space for Stanway, and we've got Daly being able to push up towards that back post, eventually leading to cross to her back post, which Carpenter is able to defend. But England are able to get a throw in, they take it here, and then we see the reverse. So now we've got Daly playing it from her side again, after Australia have somewhat narrowed, creating the space for Daly to hit that back post. We've got Australia in possession of the ball in their own half, looking to set up into essentially what was a 4-2-1-3, where you have Kerr as focal target for their long balls from deep. So we get to see that somewhat here. On this occasion, Carpenter was really high from the previous attack, and we've got our midfield. On this occasion, Kerr is looking to push up on this left-hand side. England typically set up in this 5-1-2-2 or 5-3-2 shape with two forwards trying to defend the centre, as well as also the wide centre midfielders in Tune and Stanway with Walsh in behind them. And then they'd have the near-sided wing back, typically Bronze, because Australia essentially were just trying to build up down this left-hand side, push up to try and engage the fullback as high as possible, but typically in this zone, even where Australia did play short goal kicks, the ball was just circulated into a fullback, and then they would try and run down the line and pass into wide midfielder dropping, given England had the majority of their pressure centrally. Okay, so we get to see some of that here with Catley getting the ball, England trying to come across and press her, this leading to Catley playing long over this part of the press, looking to try and find Kerr, who cushions it down nicely for forward. England were looking to try and keep Carter with Sam Kerr, whether it was contesting some of those direct long goal kicks to her, given how mobile Carter is, and then allow the likes of Millie Bry or Greenwood, etc., to be able to clean up around her. Given Kerr's propensity to float towards this left-hand side, this happened a few times where she was crossing, but of course you don't really want that. You want Kerr in the centre, given how dangerous she is. And later in the game, they make a change, bringing on Ben Eggman, and then Kerr basically just stays in the width of the box so that she can just be a threat at goal rather than be involved as she wants to be in the rest of the play. Fortunately for England, they're able to deflect these attacks. Moving on to Australia's corner kicks, there's had much better angles, so you could see just one player in the 6-yard box with England's zonally marking, and a ton of players towards the edge of the box on the penalty spot with a few woman markers for England. And then just note also Rasso, who loved to position on the back post so that if the ball was either over hit or a defensive header came towards the back post, she had ice in her veins and could slot the finish in. And with that, thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, consider sharing it, subscribing, and giving the video a like. It goes a really long way. And with that, we're out.